Welcome everyone to E2KGn30. This is Thursday night, October 26th, and it is episode 19. So this is E2KGn30. This is your 30 minutes of gaming news for the week. I am DBQ Hams, and joining me tonight is Iglesias Stamus, and I'm going to continue to change how I pronounce that every single time. So, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I have the Mario Kart Deluxe 8 theme song stuck in my head, but we will soldier on.
Ah, okay. That's at least a happy little tune for late at night tonight. So, and it seems appropriate on the heels or on the verge of a big Mario release, but we will talk about that later in the show in terms of the games that are releasing this week or that have released. But we've got a handful of news coming up this week. We've got some controversy, we got some funerals, we've got some excitement as well. So, you have the news story that has dominated the major gaming press over the last week here of the NeoGAF controversy, the sexual harassment claims, accusations, emerging history and interviews. Again, some of this was first broken on Facebook, where the accused, or where the initial tale was told. Patrick Klepek over at Waypoint had an interview with Evilor and kind of started to dig into that a little bit more, as he's done for other stories. And it's been picked up and batted around from a number of outlets. But Zeus, this is your story. So why did you choose this topic?
The main reason I chose the topic was just because it is one of the largest stories in gaming news this week. And yeah, so if you didn't hear, I guess over the weekend was when everything really started, and the main impact of it was that the NeoGAF site, which is one of the largest gaming sites out there, it's really a forum where professionals, where developers, and a lot of the gaming media gather. And I apologize if you're getting some static on the mic. I'm not sure exactly what's causing that. I'll continue to troubleshoot it as we're talking through it. So there was an accusation of sexual assault levied against the owner of NeoGAF on Facebook, and very soon thereafter, some of the staff. It was a mixture of some of the staff who believed that the story had been or was being corroborated, then staging a mutiny and abandoning the staff and the site, as well as a large vocal contingent on NeoGAF itself, raising quite a ruckus to the point where the mods who were still on duty were unable to keep up. And so the site was taken offline. It was put back online at various points when they thought they had things to a point where it was manageable, and then it would go off again. And lots of other things have gone on. Some of the mods have splintered and factioned off and are talking about starting a new site. I forget who NeoGAF is owned by, but it is owned by a larger corporation. The writing's on the wall that this is pretty much going to be the end of the site. The owner has come out and made statements. I think he made statements disavowing the allegations.
Yes, he has made statements. He's also made statements that calling the accuser having mental unstable. That there are some both consistencies and inconsistencies depending on which version of whose story that you follow.
Right. So that information is out there, and you can read it. I guess the main reason I brought this up as a news story is, man, this is going to get us in trouble. So I guess I have some personal feelings about this stuff, and my main concern is, I guess my perspective is, since the Harvey Weinstein thing broke, and the Me Too movement started, the emotions and concerns it's evoked in me is, Gamergate was not a good thing for any of us, whether you were on the side that you thought was right or on the side that was publicly seen as wrong. It just was a bad scene for the gaming community overall. It didn't improve our reputation. It kind of made us all look bad in various ways. My main concern about these things is that, and I'm not talking necessarily about the specific events that have happened. I'm certainly not talking about the NeoGAF incident. But and Hollywood is weird because it has corporate structures in some place and in other places it doesn't. My main concern is for how wide this is going to spread, if this is going to get out beyond just the public spaces, right? Beyond the media and gaming community and internet personalities. Because I guess my main perspective is, companies, normal American companies, have policies to deal with these things. And actually, I would contend that most salary professionals, when you accept the job, there is a form. Probably a lot of people don't remember it, but there's a form generally that you have to sign that says you submit basically your will to arbitration of any conflicts with the company or another employee to the company's or the corporation's internal arbitration process. And that is my feeling of where those types of things should be taken care of. But my main concern is that, an accused has the right to face his defender, face his accuser. And the internet, in a lot of cases, is not the place where these things should be arbitrated. It's going to leave people potentially open to libel and slander, and in a lot of cases, it's unchecked and unbridled, right? So 90% of the time, this is probably a case of justice being waged. And certainly there's an argument of, well, the people who have committed these acts have been a part of the system, and the system has always been against the victims, right? But at the end of the day, I just feel like the internet is not the place for these things to occur, right? In an environment where the strength almost unilaterally is placed in the hands of the accuser, because once the statement is let, it's almost impossible to defend against. It's almost impossible to repair any damage to your reputation that occurs. So that's been my main concern as things like this have broken, right? And the thing of it is if the owner of NeoGAF committed an act, then he should have been the individual that was impacted by that, and that could have been dealt with without impacting the community of NeoGAF itself. So while I feel horribly for the victim, I don't. My concern is, and I'm not saying that the victim was right or wrong. My concern is that when you chuck a grenade, there's collateral damage, right? Things get burned down beyond just the singular individual that's at fault, and that's just kind of my concern on this topic.
So I think I think there's lots of ways to dig into that, right? And this is maybe not the news show with 30 minutes. I don't want to give this short shrift though either, because it's a serious topic, and it is, the benefit of the Me Too movement is it has given the opportunity for people that have had their voice silenced to have it heard and echoed, and that is important, regardless of where that echo starts to reverb. And I think that's part of the concern of what you're expressing there. But I think in terms of NeoGAF, for as toxic as NeoGAF has been accused of being at different points in time over its long history, that NeoGAF also stood up for the people being harassed during Gamersgate, that they were on the side of the female journalists and game developers and commentators and designers who were being harassed both online and then out in the real world as well. And so I think in some ways NeoGAF took a stand, and I happen to believe that it's the correct stand in terms of decency to humans. But by doing so, I think they put themselves in, especially the mods who took that stand, put themselves in a spot where they had to respond to this in the way that they did, or in such a similar way, to give themselves and continue to give themselves some credibility. That if they would have allowed this to be pushed under the rug or dismissed as one individual when they took a stand against other individuals and this type of behavior, I think that it certainly ended up being in line with the way that NeoGAF, or at least some of the mods, had be performed and exposed beliefs prior to this. So I do wonder what the ultimate result is. And as some people have talked about, right, that NeoGAF was Reddit before Reddit was even a thing. I mean, NeoGAF has a long history and a strong community. And like any online community, there's lots of positives and there's also pockets of toxicity at times as well. So what this means, how this splinters off, I think will be something to watch. And I also think, your point there of what this does and how it's portrayed in the larger cultural environment is something to keep an eye on. Any final thoughts there before we turn off and keep chucking through the news?
No, let's keep pushing because my additional thoughts will get lengthy and involved. So,
and I think I think it's a valid thing that we probably need to I don't want E2K to step away from this, and I think we're all husbands and parents, and I think that there's good comments and perspectives here that don't always get a chance to be aired as well. So
right, and parents with daughters, right? If anybody thinks I'm gender insensitive, that is absolutely not the case. I worry every day because I work in the tech industry about I want my daughter to be able to be an engineer if she wants to be. I want her to be a software developer if she wants to be. I want her to be able to do the same things that I do. That quite literally I've had to fight for as a minority, right? And people telling me no, I couldn't do those things. So it's not an effort to give any side short shrift, as you mentioned. It's an effort just to call out the need for egalitarianism on both sides.
Yes, thank you for making that point and for sharing that about your experience as well. I think that's, again, adds a lot of weight to this piece. So I'm going to pivot here, as EA and Visceral have pivoted in weeks past. I'm going to pivot away from the serious topic and turn to something that we could tie it back into NeoGAF if we want, because NeoGAF was around. Actually, it was probably just GAF at that time. It was Gaming Age Forums back when the original Xbox was launched and existed. So this week, Microsoft made good on their E3 claim that they were going to provide some backwards compatibility for original Xbox games. So we've got the initial batch. They're coming out in batches, which I think is a good way to generate some press around them rather than kind of trickling them out week by week. So we've got 13 games, some big names here. On this podcast, we've talked about Crimson Skies in the past. We've been fans of Star Wars games, so we get Knights of the Old Republic, the classic Xbox original exclusive Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden Black is on this list, along with Black, the first-person shooter, and other games. Bill Gates' favorite Fusion Frenzy, Psychonauts, Red Faction, personal favorite Sid Meier's Pirates. Lots of good games here, and they are either available if you still own your Xbox original discs, or if you've been able to pick up used copies along the way before they start increasing in price again. And they are available on the Xbox.com store as well. So I think that is an announcement. Nice to see that as Microsoft is pushing into Xbox X, right, and 4K, that they are making good on their comments and claims of being able to provide backwards compatibility all the way back to the original Xbox. It also includes, there's going to be some upscaling here. We're going to be running in still use their 4:3 ratio, but they're going to be, games can be scaled up to 1080p. There's going to be faster loading times, stabler frame rates. It's going to, they're going to be getting some boosts based on the hardware that they're running on. The online versions of games like Crimson Skies is not up and running anymore because those servers are gone. But if you can connect through land, you can still play multiplayer games, which actually they have crossplay over all 3 platforms at this stage as well.
Is there any word on whether or not they will be getting or they're coming out with Xbox One X treatment?
There is some pieces here
4K, the 4K super sampling or whatever.
It's Xbox Ones where games are run. Yeah, I don't think that. Well, let me see. I'm looking at one news story here. It looks. I haven't seen anything that says they're going to be running in a 4K. Maybe they'll get super sampled up to be close. But I don't see anything that's saying that they're running in a 4K. It does say here I'm looking at the GameSpot article. Bear in mind that while you see visual improvements, particularly in Xbox One X, where games will run at 4K. So I think that the at is probably a significant piece there, but it's going to be, you're going to have some definite visual improvements in terms of clarity and definition.
Cool. That's pretty awesome.
So the other things that can run in 4K, especially on the PC and at solid 60 frames per second or even higher, is Destiny 2 on the PC. So Destiny 2 launched this week. I was going to have a Destiny 2 news story about all the TwitchCon panel presentations about what comes next with Destiny, that they're talking now about private matches. But then on the day of the PC release, Reddit blows up, the internet's got some issues. There are a whole batch of PC players that are getting banned for what they're reporting as no reason. Bungie has been clear that there are certain features, overlays, whether it's Discord or other recording overlays on Destiny 2 that will ban somebody from their BlizzNet account. But here, so this story broke, it was actually on Wednesday the 25th. By the end of the day, so about a little before 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Bungie comes back out and they have said that they've, quote, identified a group of players who were banned in air. They do not provide a specific reason to why they were banned in air. They do not provide any justification or what triggered the ban. Initially, back during the afternoon, Bungie had made a statement that they were all banned. These were permanent bans, and that they were about approximately 400 players. The bans applied to players who were using tools that pose a threat to the shared ecosystem of the game, said Bungie. So they started off very much in PR speak about why people were being banned, and as they dug into it, as the internet continued to report outages and bans, it seems like there was a larger issue, but there hasn't been any resolution about what that is.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems, right? With the PC and multiplayer has the problem with the fact that ecosystem is so open, and can be gotten into in some cases by very enterprising individuals, and it's hard to put a stop to cheating. So I can see that it would lend itself to that suspicion. With Halo, I think or any game with Xbox, it works because you have the Xbox Live service as the backbone, and they have that infrastructure in there, but probably not so much on Activision servers. So, and I don't know, maybe there are Activision servers that, I don't know. It's not an Xbox Live service or Windows Live service based game, so I assume that they're running their own server farm, outside of that operational environment. But yeah, it's a shame.
Well, and depending on how similarly they're mirroring the rest of Battle.net in terms of, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, that there have been plenty of people who have been banned in those 2 games over the course of those games' life cycles. Overwatch has been banning people using cheat engines and other modifications. So definitely the Blizzard aspect of Activision Blizzard has things locked down in terms of trying to create a more closed environment, which necessarily is not what, as you said, PCs are good at doing.
And boy, can the E2KG network empathize with people banned from a given service for no doggone good reason.
No, that is true. Yep. But it leads us to good things. So, and one of the things that Destiny 2 on PC can also lead to good things is that there is the potential, right, Zeus, for some tweaks here that do not exist on the console. So you've got another Destiny 2 news story.
Yeah, and I'd spin it a little differently. So the main thing, and this story was up on PC Gamer. It came out at the beginning of this week on Monday. And I'm trying to find the name of the guy. So Bungie PC project lead David Shaw indicated that they were not handcuffing themselves to having to remain lockstep with the console versions, and if they had a need to, perhaps for cases like this, they would be willing to branch the code and fork the code base and do things on PC that might be different than they are on consoles. And one of the, some of those things might be weapon balancing, right? Because you have players playing with mouse and keyboard. It's possible that a weapon gets implemented from a console first design perspective that winds up being imbalanced on the PC version. And so Shaw is saying that, hey, we're willing to address things like that. And I think that's good. I think it's good to, I often talk in my job about, my teams, coding themselves into a corner, taking a design perspective that doesn't leave them options thereafter, and be wary of that. So that is good. The only way I'd spin it a little differently than maybe you opened is I wouldn't expect the PC version. I wouldn't expect them to branch so much to try in an effort to make the PC version better. I would expect them to remediate things that were implemented on console that didn't work the way that they wanted them to on PC. But I don't believe there's going to be an effort so much to look at the PC version and go, oh, hey, this is a more powerful platform where we have better tools. So let's put some exclusive content on the PC version. It's curious that this article starts off with opening statements from I guess they say Bungie and Vicarious Visions, so I guess it's the studio doing some of the multiplayer backup. So maybe that's not as strange.
No, Vicarious Visions has handled the entire port actually for the PC.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of, while Bungie oversees the design, Vicarious Visions is the one implementing that, and they have been through the entire port. So
get out there, get Destiny 2 on PC in your hot little hands. I personally am going to be laying off of it because I've got some other games in my queue, and we'll swing back around to the PC version of Destiny 2 later. I do absolutely intend to play it, though, because I hear that it is the best version of Destiny 2 out there.
You just saw me move into the camera because I've got my Destiny 2 PC case with the paper disc that it comes with the code. So yes, no, I think you're right. I don't see that this is any new content that's going to come out, and I think the Destiny community is not looking for that either. What the big conversation that I've seen in the Destiny community about this is, are they willing to allow different metas to exist in terms of hand cannons on PC versus scout rifles and pulse rifles on console, or if they're going to try to tweak to create a more balanced consistent meta across all platforms.
Yeah, time will tell. I think the other thing that's unclear is I don't necessarily know if DLC is going to be available day and date.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
They've come out and said that while the release was delayed, that all the DLC packs, the 2 expansions that are planned right now, is going to be day and date.
Okay. So let's get back to something for you console folk who are listening in. And I only had time to pull this release list. I didn't get a chance to pull the Xbox one. But let's quickly run down some of the big releases that are coming out for PlayStation 4 this week. This is arguably the biggest week in game releases in the month of October, potentially for the whole holiday season. And there may not actually be that much to run down because I'm only going to talk about the really big games. Number 1, headlining the list, Assassin's Creed Origins drops tomorrow. I finally saw somebody make the statement because I haven't understood it this whole year, but I guess there's an industry trend to move to a shipping date of Fridays, which is when games ship in Europe. For anybody who's listened to this podcast or any of my podcasts, I've spoken for a while about the whole industry history that has led to when different types of content ship, and it's all because the various industries broker deals with UPS and FedEx to coordinate so that you didn't have DVDs, comic books, video games, and anything else all coming out on the same day and entirely overloading our truck-based logistics system. So Games here in the U.S. have historically shipped on Tuesdays. As you all have noticed since at least probably last fall, slowly but surely there's been a movement to shift. And it kind of started with games doing the early digital release on Friday. But now I think there's also a shift to the physical version shipping on Fridays as well. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go. But like I said, shipping this week, Assassin's Creed Origins for PlayStation 4, also shipping on Xbox this week. Do you know if the PC version is also shipping this week? You're muted, DB. Sorry.
I know. I'm humming and trying to.
I'll let you fact check that. Another big release that's out this week is Just Dance 2018, which is also available on the Nintendo Switch. I didn't realize.
Also available on the Nintendo Wii.
Oh wow! Okay.
All the way back. Yes.
I think I'm not going to mention Rugby 18 because it is apparently a horrible game.
Okay, are you going to get Rapellas Fishing, the Pro Series?
No, I am, however, going to mention what is maybe my biggest interesting game that's shipping this week is Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. Very, very, very exciting. And that is it. Those are the big games from my perspective. I talk mainly about the AAAs. So Assassin's Creed and Wolfenstein 2, as well as Just Dance, which, while not necessarily in a core gamer's target line, but definitely sees strong sales numbers for a wider spread and more diverse gaming crowd.
So did you add Mario Odyssey to that as well, right? Tomorrow is our single-player apocalypse, right? We've got 3 big single-player games coming out. Wolfenstein does not have a multiplayer component, nor does, obviously, Mario or Assassin's Creed.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't mention Mario because, like I said, I only had time to pull the PlayStation list. But yes, that's a good mention. Definitely pre-order and pre-download that sucker. So
have you pre-ordered Wolfenstein?
I have not. I haven't pre-ordered anything this week. This week has mainly been a catch-up week as we've been kicking around what we might do, what we are going to do about our own Game of the Year kind of discussion. I've definitely been on a campaign in the month of October to swing back and pick up games that I wanted to play but haven't played in 2017. So I did grab Project Cars 2 this week as well. Project Cars 2 for the PlayStation 4. As well as NBA 2K18 and FIFA 18 for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
So I'm gonna lay off these titles and then make some decisions about what I'm gonna do next month, which will be our last purchasing month. Kind of, sort of. I don't know what's coming out in December before we have our big Game of the Year, Favorite of the Year, Most Influential of the Year discussion in December.
Yeah, not a whole lot in December in terms of, traditionally when we've had like a Far Cry game or other things in December, we've got a big kind of mid-December release. We've got the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming out for the Switch, but after that, not a whole lot in December. So gives everybody a chance to get caught up and play around with some stuff as well. So yes, big games this week and some big titles still to come as we head into November and the holiday sales. So, but also along in November in terms of the release is the Xbox One X. And the writing was on the wall a little while ago when the X was announced to not have a Kinect port in it. And this week, Microsoft officially announced that the Kinect is dead. Again, this should not come as a surprise to anybody that has looked at Kinect games or tried to play a Kinect game in any place in time. But it is official now, 2010 to 2017. So Project Natal and looking at the bottom of your shoe and Milo and all the other fun stuff that was promised when the Kinect was initially released. And then when we got the big old bulky Kinect, the new version of it for Xbox One, and all the hopes that were attached to that with being able to control your living room and how well that worked out for Don Matrick as well. So there is the final story of the week of here in terms of just saying goodbye to the Xbox Kinect. It was a good idea that was piggybacked on top of the Wii's motion controls, but the technology never quite facilitated the reality in terms of game design. So that is my final news story for the week. Anything else before we head out? We've got a full lineup of shows again next week, with coming back with E2KG, enough to keep going, the news podcast, and we continue to populate the network, and we've got more to come, as we've talked about tonight, in terms of looking ahead to end of the holiday season and looking back on this year, both in terms of trends and also our favorite game experiences and games. It's a good time of year as things ramp up, and the news will slowly trickle off and hopefully give us more time to enjoy those games that we've been talking about all year long. So for Iglesias and myself, DBQ Hams, this has been E2KG in 30, and we will always be enough to keep you going. Good night.